Hello, District 47 Toastmasters. I am Shakira Taylor, and it is my honor to serve as your Program Quality Director for this fiscal year 2020-2021. As we begin this new year, we find ourselves still in the virtual world experience. What we are fortunate to have is a body of webinars that we will be able to use to support us in the year ahead. The webinar you're about to watch was led by the 2019-2020 Technical Support Team, including Distinguished Toastmaster David Carr and Distinguished Toastmaster Lois Margolin. Your 2020-2021 Technical Support Team will be Distinguished Toastmaster David Carr and Distinguished Toastmaster Charmaine Strong. They have been working behind the scenes along with your Public Relations Manager, Distinguished Toastmaster Andre Kelly, to prepare for what might be your new normal. I encourage you to take very good notes with the webinar you're about to watch and to take it back to your clubs, to your areas, to your division, so that we can have a successful year. I look forward to meeting each and every one of you. Thank you so much, District 47.
Going to get us started. Let's do it.
Wonderful. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'll share with you kind of an abbreviated version of what I normally do to kick off our meeting. We have some language that I use that is specific to our club, but other language that really can be used for any online club. There's some things that folks may want to keep in mind when you're doing an online club, because you oftentimes will have folks from around the world. So again, I start off with welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting of online presenters has now begun. For our club in particular, we do at this point go over what some of the membership requirements are to share with our guests who may be on the line. I ask folks, if you have not already done so, please change your little Brady Bunch panel to ensure it shows your name and role. You may see in my panel an example of that. Speaker, blue-brown. In order to get to that, you simply right-click on your little panel and select Rename. Now, here's an important part with online clubs. We do oftentimes have...
Hold on. David, can you please mute everyone? David Carr?
Do a sweep and I'll unmute.
Okay, if everybody can mute.
Okay, wonderful. We're there. Thank you for that, David. I'll repeat that last piece. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure that it shows your name and role, if you have one. Right-click your panel, select Rename to do so. And this part here is very important for online meetings. As I mentioned earlier, you may have folks from around the world. We have members in our club and oftentimes guests from countries around the world. As a professional organization, we do ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. As our President Lois Margolin mentioned, we are recording the meeting. And with that said, we do use our audio and video contributions for our club marketing purposes. As you may have just seen an example of a lot of chatter going on, we do ask that you mute your microphone when you are not speaking. I also at this time usually announce the theme of the meeting. Feel free to include any other information that you might like to do so as part of your Sergeant at Arms banging of the gavel. Please welcome our club president for tonight's or today's special event, Toastmaster Club President, Distinguished Toastmaster Lois Margolin.
Thank you, Lou. If you want to clap, a lot of us go like this, the jazz hands, or you can do this, and that lets your speaker know that they're getting applause. Welcome to our online Zoom presentation. As many of you have heard, David Carr and I are honored to be named as co-chairs for the technical support team for District 47. I also have a dual hat because Patricia Hamilton, which is somewhere in the Brady Bunch screens, and I are also the District 47 Speech Contest co-chairs. Tonight, we will be covering the basics of Toastmasters online. And what I have done is we have brought in some people from online presenters who are used to running a meeting, and we are going to run a mini 20-minute meeting. just so that you could see how it works, how we pass the baton, and get a feel for how all of this new Fandango software and meeting will handle. We are not covering hybrid meetings, which are basically when you have some people at a location and you're online, and we will not be covering contests. There will be later webinars to cover both of those, but for tonight, we are focusing on you, the club, and how to make your club online experience #1. There are a lot of benefits to doing online clubs. #1, you get a new tool in your tool chest. You're expanding your horizon and you're learning something new. Don't let yourself or the members of your club shy away just because you don't know how to do something. So you make a mistake, figure it out, ask some people. David and I are great references, as a number of people on this call will be, but you can get through it. You can also manage an online meeting to cover level 4 project in almost any pathways. It's going to keep your club active, and most importantly, you're not going to be able to pass the coronavirus on to anybody. So you are in a safe environment. Like I said, this is going to be a mini meeting, and I have asked Chris Gould, who is part of our club, and all the presenters in here are part of online presenters, to give us a little bit about technicalities regarding Zoom. So Chris, I think we're on time and you can take it away.
Thank you, Lois. And yes, I am Chris Gould, member of Online Presenters and a technology trainer for many years. And I do just want to give some of the basic controls when you're in a meeting. I use Zoom a lot, everything from these Toastmaster meetings to just getting together with some friends that are all around the country. It is a wonderful tool. And I have made a few videos, and I'm putting a link to the playlist on our Geeks on Tour. That's my husband Jim's and my company playlist of some videos about what I'm going to tell you now. And now I am going to share the screen, so I have a couple of slides to explain what I'm going to say. And what? Okay. And where's my present? There it is, up there. So Zoom meeting controls. First, so I'm sharing, just a second. Thank you. Down here.
There you go. Now
Okay. Yeah, that's one thing to know. It can be very handy to have multiple monitors when you use Zoom, but it can be confusing for what I just did. I was sharing the wrong monitor. All right, so Zoom meeting controls. First, as you've already heard, it's really important to know how to turn your microphone on and off. When you get a bunch of people, the noise is bad. You need to keep your microphone generally off. Now, where you find that is in the lower left corner of a computer screen, or the upper right corner, what I found on an iPad or a phone. And all you do is you just click on the microphone, it will get a line through it, and you are now muted. To unmute, you click it again. Or there is a keyboard shortcut. Alt-A can unmute and remute. If you're on a Mac, that would be a Command-Shift-A. And the same thing with the video. Sometimes if you need to walk out of the room and you don't want to leave your screen blank, you can just turn off your video the same way that you do with the microphone. Just click on that. Now, if you don't see your microphone or your video camera, just wiggle your mouth or tap the screen. They will appear. They disappear while the meeting is in process. And if anybody has any questions on that, please leave them in the chat, and I will show you the chat in just a minute. There's a little bit more to your microphone and your video. If, like I do, you have two cameras, they're built-in one and a webcam, you might need to tell Zoom which camera to use. And you would do that by clicking on this little up arrow that's right next to the video camera. Same thing with microphone. And there are lots of other settings in there as well. I encourage you to look at your settings. And this is where on a screen, seeing the whole screen here, you'll see your microphone or your video settings down in the lower left-hand corner. Change your name. So you notice that my name in this, is it showing my age that I call these Hollywood squares rather than Brady Bunch, as Lois mentioned them? I call them Hollywood squares. And you can make your name be anything you want. You can just right click on the square, or if you hover your mouse, you'll see those little 3 dots, and then you will see rename right there, and you can type whatever you want. The OP in mine means that I'm a member of Online Presenters. To chat with us, the chat you should see down with the rest of your tools at the bottom, kind of towards the right. Click on that and it opens up this right sidebar. Then you can just type a message and press enter. Notice how it says everyone. If you click on that little down arrow, you will see the name of everybody in the meeting, which is another reason why it's important to change your names. And you can chat with just one person if you select their name from the list. So everybody, let's do that right now. Make sure that you know how to do that. Click on chat and just say, hello, Toastmasters, or whatever you want, and we will see that you are in the chat. And I will be monitoring the chat for the remainder of the meeting. Gallery versus speaker view.
Actually, Chris, we're going to take that at a different time because we're going to get going. We're already at 8:10.
Okay.
All right, and I believe I saw Jim Barber online, so we're going to let him keep his original chat monitor. So okay. Chris is going to be coming back afterwards with some of the gallery versus speaker view. But for right now, we want to make sure that we let you know if you have any questions, since she just showed you how to work in the chat monitor and she's got you posting hello everybody. Any questions you have after we do the hello? Jim Barber, please just give me yes, I'm here, because I thought I saw you come in. Jim Barber? Maybe he did not.
I see him.
Okay, so
you're on mute, Jim. Unmute, Jim.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, Jim. So you're going to be monitoring the chat box?
Yes.
Any questions that come up?
Yep.
We also want to explain that our members and our online presenters all have the OP in front of their name, so you know that they are part of Online Presenters. And lastly, we're now going to go through, as your Toastmaster of the day, we are going to actually physically start the meeting. Thank you to Lou, our Sergeant at Arms. But as you know, no one person can run a meeting all by themselves. So in order to run this meeting accordingly, we have a few helpers. These are helpers that might be a little bit different than you would have in your brick and mortar. For instance, we have a chat monitor. Jim Barber, would you please explain your role?
With pleasure, Madam Toastmaster. The chat monitor, as Lois just mentioned, is a role that doesn't exist in most brick and mortar club meetings. It's rather unique to online meetings. Hang with me, this is kind of difficult. The chat monitor monitors the chat. Okay, I'll repeat that if anybody needs it, but I'm going to plow ahead. Basically, as the chat monitor, I'm going to monitor the chat to do two things. One, the Toastmaster of the meeting may not be able to keep an eye on the chat, and so as the chat monitor, I'm going to be watching to see if there's anything that Lois needs to know. And if there is, I can break in and let her know that something has gone wrong or something like that. So I'm basically the backup for the Toastmaster of the day. Also, I will note anything of importance to all members, and I'll report that at the end of the meeting. And that's basically what I'm going to be doing, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, sir. We have our watcher. Elaine, would you please explain your role?
Hi, online presenters and people of District 47. I'm acting as the watcher. The watcher is similar in brick and mortar clubs to the body language monitor. But here in an online situation, we're looking at gestures, of course, but also how a speaker would be using their gestures within the frame. Are they positioned close? Are they positioned back? How is their lighting? Other things I'll also be looking at is the gallery. How are people engaging with the speaker? Are they attending closely? Are they being responsive? What is their lighting like? And of course, for any individual, when they have a speaking role, are they looking right into that blue light or red light, as the case might be, to make it look like they're looking right at every person who's speaking? Finally, the watcher also will be looking at lighting, background, effective use of slides, and transitions. It's a lot of fun to be the watcher.
Thank you, Elaine. So, will you please explain the role of the timer?
Hello, everyone. At the timer, I'm responsible for monitoring time for each meeting segment and each speaker on prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluation. To do that, I'll be using my clock, watch, and my colored backgrounds. Green at minimum, yellow at target time, and red at maximum time. For example, if you give a speech from 5 to 7 minutes, green will be at 5, yellow 6, and red at 7. As some of you haven't had any experience with the colored backgrounds yet, you can still use colored cards and hold them in front of the camera the entire time so the speaker will see them. Also, during the delivery of your speech, you can pin the timer. To do so, you can go to the right up corner of your screen, or you can ask for an audible cue so you will not miss your time. And at the end of each segment, I will give a timer report. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. I am now going to put the spotlight on Chris. Chris, can you explain the gallery versus speaker view real quickly? It's not our table topic. What can I say?
Yeah, I see somebody was just asking that too. Somebody just asked, does this person who's speaking take up the main part of the screen? And the answer is yes, if you are in speaker view. If you are in gallery view, then you see what I call the Hollywood squares. So, sorry, trying to get here quickly. When you're in gallery view, you see all the Hollywood squares. If you click on speaker view, you now see the individual speaker, and it switches when different people are talking. Then to get back to gallery view, it's that little grid.
Okay.
Good enough?
That is perfect. Thank you. Our event is broken up into 3 parts, like any meeting. We have speakers, we have table topics, and we have evaluators. We're going to switch it around a little bit and have our table topics before our speaker and an evaluator, because we really want to put our evaluator on the spot. Let's welcome Toastmaster Jim Gould as our table topics master. Jim?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As table topics master, I get to choose some topics for extemporaneous speaking, and it usually involves someone not on the regular schedule for speaking. So anybody that does not have a speaking role is fair game. So I see quite a few people out here and a few people I haven't seen in a while. And some that I've never seen before. So my topic is, for Alexandra, my first computer. Alexandra.
Thank you, Toastmaster. My first computer, I remember I was in probably second grade, and we had games that we would play on it, and we would go to the computer lab. We didn't have our own computer at home, and we didn't have our own computer in the classroom, but we would go to computer lab for our special activity of the week. You'd have a day for PE, a day for art, and a day for computer, and we would play different games on there. We would have I'm trying to see where the time is. We would have Carmen Sandiego was a big one, and we had another interesting one with Mickey Mouse. Oregon Trail was a big one too. So that was my first computer. Thank you, Toastmaster.
Well, thank you, Alexandra. Very interesting. It's always nice to hear what somebody has to say about whatever the topic is. And I'll call now upon our timer. Asil, how did our contestant do?
52 seconds.
Okay, does she qualify?
No, I think 1 minute.
1 minute is the minimum for a table topics. One of the things that is a real problem when it comes to these online presenters, especially if you have a lot of people in your view, you need to find the timer and pin that person. That way you'll see the timing when it changes. So I have my own setup, so I can go green, yellow, and red too. And I think that's a real good way to do these things, having those colors in the background. But if the speaker can't see that square, then they have an issue with that. Does that make sense? Did we talk about pinning? Not yet? Okay.
Go ahead, Jen. You talked about pinning.
Okay, when you move your mouse over, if you have squares, you'll see a 3-dot menu. Now this is on a computer, on a browser. If you click on that 3-dot menu, you'll see a drop-down menu, and you can pin your video of that person on your screen. There are also some other settings there, but pinning that person as you're speaking can be a real help. Or if you're in the gallery view, you can also just move to that particular screen. Most of these meetings have fewer than 2 screens. So, I mean, we only have 1 screen most of the time in our gallery view in our meetings. Right now, we have over 100 participants and some other people who are watching live on Facebook. So this is a huge, huge meeting. A lot to learn about this, but it is easy to use.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Let's see. If you were to do voting, your timer would come back and tell you who was eligible to vote. They might put it in the chat box. At that point, you have a vote counter. You would literally right-click on the picture of the vote counter. And as you see, there's an option that says chat, just like there's an option to pin the video of the timer. And you would send your chat and who you're voting for the best table topic of the day. And today, congratulations, Alexandra, you won. Very proud of you. Great job. We do have one speaker today. His speech is 2 to 3 minutes. Asil, that means at 2 minutes, we will see the green, 2.5, we'll see the yellow, and at 3, we'll see the red. At 3.5 minutes, we will have Asil clap our speaker off, but our speaker is known to many of you, and I wanted this to be special because we haven't seen him for a while. Our speaker is Lou Brown, distinguished Toastmaster Lou Brown. The title of his speech is How to Deliver Your Online Presentation with Confidence and Ease. In an online club, presentations can be delivered in several different ways. In addition to having your content ready to present, it's important to have a good handle on how to present it for maximum effectiveness and impact. Here to share a few tips with you is DTM Lou Brown. Let's give it up for Lou.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. First of all, if you do not see me, please click on the blue arrow, left or right, keep shuffling through, and eventually you'll hit me. Show of hands, how many of you have either conducted or been a part of a video presentation? How many of you have conducted or been a part of a webinar presentation? How many of you have conducted or been a part of a combo video and webinar presentation? Awesome. In this short speech, I will share with you a couple of tips that we use here in our club to make any of these types of speeches effective. Conducting a speech of any of these types in an online club can be challenging. I know a lot of us went through a learning curve. I don't expect or wouldn't expect anyone to get a lot of this right out of the gate. It simply takes practice and continued the experience of just going through this. First, let me start with a video presentation. Hopefully you have either pinned me or again, you have me in gallery view somewhere where you can see me. Lighting is very key to doing a video presentation. Many of our members have a green screen. I have a virtual background, as you can see behind me. You can download an image to create your own virtual background. Important, as Toastmaster Chris mentioned, to have both your video be prepared, your camera, I should say, in terms of lighting, and also your audio. I'm using wired headsets. Some folks may use Bluetooth headsets. It's important to test these things to make sure that you look and sound your best. Hand gestures can be a little challenging in an online club because you don't have a lot of room to move around. Some of our members actually have presented their entire body can be shown. They step far back away from the camera so that folks can see them. However, if you're close to the camera, you can only really do so much. It's probably the best, the most effective thing you can do is something like counting. I'm gonna go over points, 1, 2, 3, something like that. Timing. Now, I really do hope Asil doesn't clap me off because I wanted to cover a lot of things that I think are important. One, with timing. I use, you probably can't see this, I'm kind of waving it, but I use my phone as a timing device because you may not see the timer in your own view. Now, with a webinar presentation, this is where screen sharing comes into play. The share screen button is at the bottom, it's in green. When you hit screen share, you will see a bunch of items from which you can select. I recommend you select the item that you are going to present, nothing else, not even desktop, and I'll get around to why that is the case later on. Simply select your item and hit share, and it's gonna pop up. Zoom will shrink the gallery view and your item will be on the screen. It's important to click your item so that it becomes active. And then when you stop sharing, you are back. And it's a very simple process to do that. Now, I want to go over something real quick, which is a combo presentation, because oftentimes we will speak, share some slides, and then come back and speak again, and sometimes go back and share some more slides. First, make sure your item is prepared, whatever your content is. I'm gonna do a quick example using PowerPoint. We go back to share screen, bottom, which is the green button. Hit share screen, select the item you're going to share. There is a share button in that next window. You simply click that. And again, I share the item because if you share desktop or something else, you could be fumbling around with what you want to share. Madam Toastmaster, may I take one more minute? Thank you, ma'am. In this view, you may see that my presentation's already ready to go. I have this in what's called the reading pane view. And I'm gonna give you just a really quick demo on what that means. One is when you first create a PowerPoint presentation, you are in edit mode. When you are ready to present, turn your presentation over to the reading view. If you do this in PowerPoint slideshow mode, you're gonna be completely clicking all over the place trying to get yourself ready. Much easier to use the reading view because when you do that, your presentation blows up and it mimics a PowerPoint slideshow, very easy. It also allows you to resize the window if you want to do to get other things out of the way. Once you are ready to exit your presentation, simply stop sharing, you are back, and then you can quickly toggle over back to your presentations if you need to. Those are my tips for the day. Toastmaster Chris Gould will share some more details with you. I hope you found that very helpful. Toastmaster Lois, thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Great job. Let's give him a round of applause. We're going to go ahead and pass on the evaluation of this particular speech, but I do want to go through the various reports because it's important that you understand how these reports work. Jim Barber, we're going to come to you first, but don't give us the details of the chat monitor because you'll be doing that at the end. If you can, just a couple of things you might have seen.
Oh, we had a lot of great questions coming from people, and I hope they were all fielded by various people. Of course, there were far too many questions to cover, and so what I want to point out is that you can save the chat. If you can go back and review it later, click on the chat button at the bottom, and then at the bottom of that, there is three little dots, and it says Save Chat, and when you click that, the chat is saved, and you can go back and look at it anytime that you want. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, sir. We will try and remember before the meeting completely ends to have you save the chat. Our watcher, Elaine, how did we do?
This is a great evening. We have many of our online presenters using interesting and appropriate backgrounds. Many also of our online presenters are very skilled in choosing the right position to have their heads in so it doesn't interfere with their name in the gallery view. And I did notice today that lots of people, the attendees who had their cameras on, we could see they were watching intently. But for all who had their cameras off, we couldn't tell how they were responding. It's actually a great thing when you're in an online meeting, have your camera on so the speaker and the watcher can know whether you are effectively engaging your audience. Those are the most important points. Back to you, Lois.
Thank you, Elaine. Asil, how did our speaker do as far as time?
4 minutes and 47 seconds.
Okay, but it was worth it because it's Lou, so it's worth it. That basically concludes what a meeting would look like. We do have the grammarian role, and we have the general evaluator, and we have evaluations, and you can kind of see how that would all mesh in. But the purpose for what we were doing today was to just tease you a little bit to show you that you can have an online meeting, and it might go over here or it might not work there, but that's the beauty of this. We're all in this together, and we're going to make it all work. So now we have dazzled you with some of our brilliance, but we didn't dazzle you with our technical side. That we left to David Carr. So David is going to be taking us through some technicalities related to Zoom, and that is a 10-minute presentation, and then we will fill out the rest of the time up with Q&A, which Jim Barber will facilitate from his chat box. So David, are you ready?
I am ready. Thank you, Lois.
Thank you.
So I probably will double up on some things you've already seen, but I'm going to stick with them if they're important. I'm going to cover them too, even if it repeats something that Chris or one of our other folks said. Let's say. So this is online presenters, the online environment. We've been around since 2017, so we're going on our 3rd year of operations. There are great things about the online environment. I love that I get to connect with people all over the world and get to practice skills that are useful in webinars and online meetings of all sorts. Just 3 problems. Sometimes you can't hear, sometimes you can't speak, sometimes you can't see, or we have the opposite problem where we're hearing, we're broadcasting our voice in appropriate ways, or we're broadcasting sound in appropriate ways, or we're showing things that we shouldn't be showing the whole universe. So the meeting controls that Chris went over are very important, knowing how to mute, unmute, start, stop your video. Most of this stuff has been covered along the way, so I'll skip over that fairly quickly. Just a little animation here of how that switching between the gallery view and the speaker view works. So that's important for So it's different from some other online environments in that you control what you see. So some of the issues that you run into are lighting. This is a clip of Jim Gold, who you heard from earlier. He and Chris did a workshop meeting at Online Presenters talking through how they set up their home office studio, since they do a lot of this work. Now, I'm not saying that you need to get as fancy as this, but if you don't have good lighting on yourself, it will tend to get grainy video. That probably is a bigger issue than the quality of your camera. The camera that's built into your laptop is probably just fine, but the lighting, trying to get it right, trying to get it balanced. Jim has light bouncing off the walls and off the ceiling to try and get some indirect light as well as direct light. So, you don't have to get this fancy, but you probably want to drag a couple of extra lights into whatever office or den or closet you may be broadcasting from. Timing is an issue, and this has already been mentioned, that when Zoom will follow where it's hearing sound from, also the screen changes around when you switch from gallery view to active speaker view. The screen changes when you go into screen sharing mode. And so you as the speaker may not see the timer. For that reason, we often give a verbal clue in addition. You notice for the colorblind, Sil here has the word red in addition to showing the color red in the background. So try and give as many singles as you can. It's not a bad idea to have your own smartphone with the Toastmasters app that includes its own little timer. Have that on the desk next to you. Keep track of your own time. The official timer is still going to count up whether you ran overtime, but to try and keep yourself on track, it might be good to have your own timing device handy. In a pinch, this is an in-person meeting that we did at Online Presenters, and we were trying to involve remote participants. I hadn't planned very far ahead, so what I just had was my smartphone aimed at the timer so that you could potentially see those timing lights change. Definitely not ideal. The next time we try that, we'll do it a little bit differently. But we did our first mixed online and offline meeting just the other day. On this coming Friday, we've asked the entire club to meet in an online setting just to practice it. We're not making the decision that we need to do that yet, but we want everybody to have some experience with it. So that was a little practice there. Also, the chat function is important for informal chit chat, but we also use it for voting. So this is trying to show how you can switch from sending a message to everyone to sending it to a specific person. Typically, the vote counter will change their name, so it's vote counter Dave instead of just Dave. So it's easier to find them on the list. Evaluations can also be a bit of an issue. I guess it's fortunate that Pathways has given us all these PDFs that can be emailed back and forth. I always thought it was an awkward process to ask people to print out a PDF, mark it up, scan it in, email it back. And so at Online Presenters, we do have this online evaluation tool that asks all the same questions as the official Toastmasters evaluation form. And you can fill that out and submit it. That goes to the member via email, and it also gets archived on the site, so you can go back and look at your previous evaluations. This is part of the WordPress for Toastmasters software that I've been working on for a number of years. Also, the WordPress for Toastmasters does include a feature that will help you collect money. It's an integration with the Stripe online payment service, Stripe is a competitor to PayPal and the rest of them. And at the time we signed up, they charged less fees for overseas transactions, and that was important to our club. You know, there are other solutions you can use. You can sign up for a PayPal account and get a little snippet of HTML that your webmaster will embed in the site. So there are ways to collect money online. It is an additional complication, certainly. Here are some other resources. Certainly, we encourage you to stop by Online Presenters Toastmasters. There's a reference to the WordPress for Toastmasters project and also my social links and company link. So with that, I'll take a breath. I can field questions, or we can move on to everybody fielding questions.
Let's go ahead. There were a couple things that I definitely wanted to cover in this section, and there are questions flying around in the chat box. Zoom can be a free version. It is 40 minutes at a time. That means you have to pretty much plan your meeting. You're going to get a note that says you have 10 minutes left. If you see that, you need to make sure you tell everybody, hey, as soon as the speaker finishes, we're going to disconnect and all come back in. If you pay for it and you pay for the year, it's $140. I think Chris said it's $15 a month if you pay it monthly. One of the disadvantages is you cannot record the meeting if you have a free version. If you pay for it, you can record the meeting to the cloud and then you can upload it to YouTube like we do at Online Presenters. We recommend that you have everybody log in at least 15 minutes early so that they can test their equipment and make sure everything is running the way it needs to run. And you can always do what we did, which is, hi, so-and-so, how are you? How was your day? Ask them a question. In order to set this up, you go to zoom.us. There's also, let's see, were there any other questions that I wanted to bring up? Nope, those were the main things that I wanted to bring up. So I am now going to ask our chat monitor, Jim Barber, to take over. And Jim, one of the things I want you to do is when you read the chat, whatever the question is, if you can assign it to a specific person, because we've got so many talented people here that can answer the questions, we'll trust you to figure it out.
Boy, that's a lot of trust, a lot of responsibility to lay on Madam Toastmaster, but I'll do my best. There have been a lot of questions asked in the chat, and I hope that many of them have been answered. If you haven't gotten, if you've had a question, if you have a question and it hasn't been answered, or you have a question that's developed since then, would you please post it in the chat and I will forward it to the right person. Let's see, I have a question from Kate McClare. How did the timer change her background to match the timing sequence? I missed her explanation. Thanks. Asil, are you there?
Can you repeat the question again?
How did you change your background to match the timing sequence? That may be a more involved answer than you can get into here.
I'm using the phone to track the time. And also, if you go to stop video, that is on the left bottom corner of your screen, and click, and you see choose a virtual background. So you click on it, and you can see a special place where you can download green from Google. You can find green wallpaper and download here. It has special size. I don't remember now, but I can type later. So in the yellow and red. So if you deliver a speech from 5 to 7 minutes, you'll show green at 5, yellow at 6, and red at 7. Did I answer the question?
A link to a green screen tutorial was just posted in the chat. So.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Asil. Thank you, David. I had another question about using Google Hangout. David?
Actually, maybe we should ask Jim and Chris about that, because they do a weekly live show.
Cool. Chris?
Well, it used to be called Hangouts on Air. Now it's YouTube Live. So I don't know how that all fits together anymore.
Nobody does.
Something that has evolved over a fair amount of time now. That Hangouts on Air was how we really first started doing these virtual meetings or webinar type teaching that we do. And it's just evolved into this. Hangouts is another chat. So it's very much like Skype or FaceTime or Duo. There's a whole lot of tools out there that can do some face-to-face stuff, and small groups too, and some of them do them quite well. We have just chosen Zoom because it is so scalable and it works really, really well. We have 100 people in here and I'm seeing some pretty good clear screens. So I have a good connection here, but Zoom is just one of the tools that allows you to use this technology, and they have a lot of cool things that allow you to do this. And they do voice as well as they do, as well as the video. So you can have just conference calls with phone technology using Zoom too.
Great, thank you, Jim. We had a question, how to save the chat in an iPad. I don't have an iPad, so can an Apple user respond to that?
I think Chris has that one. Chris, you have that?
Well, I have an iPad in front of me, but I've never saved the chat on it. I'd have to go try it. So I'll try it and put it in our chat when I find it.
That sounds fair. Thank you. Have a question. How do you induct a new member if someone new is joining your club? Either Lois or Elaine, if she's here, is our Vice President of Membership. Lois?
I'll give it to Elaine.
Okay, Elaine.
When I have a new member who has paid and all the processing of their application is done, I send them via email a new member bundle. Included in that is a little mini script for what we say during an induction. We hold our induction on the first Monday of the month, maybe one or multiple people, and basically I give a direction. I invite the members to be inducted to raise their right hand. There's a little bit of repetition. I say something, they say something, and then I read the promises, and then all the members at the end say, I will. That's how we conduct the induction.
Thank you, Elaine. Would it be possible to screen share the timer in terms of using a program for a timer for speakers? David, this is probably in your area. David? We're not hearing you. Can somebody else? Somebody else?
Can you hear me now?
Now we hear you. Yes, thank you.
David?
David, is it possible to screen share the timer for speakers?
Okay, he said he's going to come out and go back in. We'll allow that to go.
Okay. Question is asked, is this being recorded? If so, how can I retrieve it later to review, refresh? It is being recorded. I know. I'm not quite sure how best to do it. That's something, again, David could probably say.
I can take that one, Jim.
Okay, Lois,
we are
take
going to
it.
be putting this on the District 47 website, and everybody that has registered, which of course you had to do to be on this link, we'll find out where it is on the website, but most likely it's going to be under the blog section of the website, or that would be where it would be right now. So, yep.
Okay, thank you. How do you help older members transition to online? Personally, I do not care for the term older members. I prefer experienced members, but how to help experienced members transition to online? I don't know. Elaine, you want to take that?
I would say when I have a new member coming in without, much online or video experience, during the course of my one-to-one get acquainted, I find out what their skills and capabilities are. For most people starting out online, whether a senior or experienced person or not, the primary skill to begin practicing is looking into that camera light as they're talking. And if you get a free account on Zoom, then you can practice your speech with the light on and, you know, get used to doing that. So that's probably the most important thing to learn first off. Everything else is step by step after that. And as you attend meetings, you just find you assimilate so much by being in the environment, hearing the evaluations. It gets easier, and it's okay if you make mistakes. It's a safe place to be.
Thank you, Elaine. I have another question. How do you do the ah counter? Do they ring a bell or something? I can feel that one. We do have an ah counter, and we've tried it both ways. We've tried ringing a bell or having some other audio signal real time, and we've also tried simply telling people about it at the end of the meeting. And neither approach seems to be ideal. We're still searching for the best approach, the best way of doing it. We frankly haven't found the one that I think everybody likes yet.
Jim,
And
I'd like to chime on that one is that
go for it.
you don't want to ring a bell, because if you are in speaker mode, guess what's going to happen? Every time you ring that bell, you're going to be bringing the camera away from the speaker onto the ah counter. So we do not recommend using the bell or any sound thing. We have had people email the ah counter report to the chapter or to the club members after the meeting, and that works as well.
Thank you. Do you have any presentation resources on encouraging our tech challenged members to try the web meeting format? Lois?
I'm going to take that one. If you go, we are going to be putting this information on our actual website of Toastmasters District 47. And today we've had a few postings that are underneath the blog section, which will go through microphone. It'll go through lighting. It has Chris's presentation. She did a 2 or 3 minute presentation on what she went over tonight. There's a bunch of stuff on there. I encourage you to go through it. If you don't find enough there, then online presenters, which is Toastmasters.org, has a blog section. And if you go through, there are videos on, oh my gosh, it's amazing how many things they have on here, because this is years worth of information. Past the speakers and you'll start getting down to how-tos, and they'll talk you how to start your slides more smoothly in Zoom. They'll teach you how to get a meeting invitation, blog for Toastmasters. I'm going through here real fast. I saw some really good ones. The power of the Google slide, how to put Google slides in there, how to edit videos, video for speakers and presenters, replay from a workshop, how to use Apple's iMovie. So there's all kinds of different resources. That's one of the places that I got how to do a green screen. So they have a lot of those things. Elaine, do you have something to add to that?
Additionally, I want to mention that at op.toastmost.org, there's a new tab that our webmaster, David Carr, just added. It's called Tips and Tricks. Be sure to visit that because it gives lots of the common snafus that people run into and how to correct them.
Okay. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Lois. Next question. From John, how do you handle contests online? Do you have guidelines for how far the speaker needs to be from the camera to be able to use the speaking area? I can answer a little bit of that. As an online club, we are not eligible to participate in the normal Toastmaster contest, the International Speech Contest, Table Topics Evaluation, and whatever is left over there, humor. We have conducted our own club contests, and we also participate in the video international speech contests. I'm going to pass. Has David come back? David, are you there?
Yes,
he's there.
Back. Can you
You
hear
want
me?
to handle that?
Yes, there is a video speech contest, which is essentially the international speech contest done online. That's actually not something that District 47 clubs would participate in, because it's only for undistricted clubs. So, but we do have experience there with conducting something that's a lot like the International Speech Contest in an online environment. And I know Lois is working very hard on figuring out how to translate that for district purposes. So there'll be some additional guidance coming from that hopefully soon.
We will definitely have some information on how to hold an area, division, and if necessary, district conference online. Just the way it's called.
We've also done a webinar contest, which is not an official Toastmasters thing. I'm actually giving a presentation on Monday night about how that works.
Thank you, David. Lily asks, how do you collect the votes? I can field that one because it's easy. We have there's a private chat capability to the chat room. You simply indicate that you want to send your vote to the vote counter, and only the vote counter will see your vote, and we collect votes that way. Let's see. When you do PowerPoint presentation, what's the best way to switch from sharing the screen to the presenter? Lou left. Jim Gold, do you want to handle that?
I think there is.
Trying to unmute there. I say that. So the question, what was the question?
When you do a PowerPoint presentation, what's the best way to switch from sharing the screen to the presenter?
Oh, well, that's just using the Zoom tool at the bottom. The share button is down at the bottom, and you can share a screen, and that's where you can go to stop the share too. One of the places.
Thank you, sir. We responded on the chat. We answered on the chat how to save the chat on an iPad. I think the answer was, I don't know. We've also had the question of how to save the chat on a cell phone. Anybody have an answer for that one?
Well, I just tried it on this iPad and I do not see any way. And I asked the question in the Zoom support also, which is wonderful, by the way. All of these questions you have about Zoom, go to zoom.us and click on support and it is all there. It's really good. And I saw no way to save the chat.
I will say that if your club decides to record meetings, Zoom also saves a version of the chat to the recording file. You actually get a whole directory of different video views, and also, I guess it's just the chat that went to everyone. It's not your personal chat messages, but that is available. So that even if you were on your phone, you could potentially get it later.
Thank you, David. I have been going through some of the questions have been answered by people that could better answer it in the chats. I think all the questions that people have asked, we've done our best to answer them. I would remind everybody, because this is a lot of information to going by, and it's very easy to miss something. You can save the chat by going into the chat room at the bottom of the screen, where you would normally send your votes or send your comments or whatever. On the right-hand side, there's 3 little dots. And if you click the 3 dots, it says save chat, and that will save the chat to your computer. So you don't have to worry about getting the chat from somebody else or something like that. So you can save your own version of the chat room right now, simply by going to the chat, go to the 3 dots and say save chat. And there's a lot of valuable information in there. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to our Toastmaster of the evening, Lois Margolin.
Thank you, Mr. Jim. The last question on here, I think it's a great question to wrap everything up. Is there an etiquette guide on participating in an online meeting? I don't know if there's an etiquette guide per se, but I think that it follows the normal Toastmaster guidelines. Don't talk while other people are talking, pay attention to the speaker, and if you're not going to pay attention to the speaker, or you're going to be interrupted with kids running back and forth, turn your video off, just be polite. I would like to remind you, you're going to have some resistance from people that don't want to go online, but this is the time for them to put that new tool in their tool chest. And let's face it, this is the way the world is going. We are moving to online presentations and webinars, and everybody really needs to get up to speed on this particular platform. Personally, I do a lot of Facebook posts. If I want to do a 1-minute post, I'll come in, I'll open up my Zoom room, I'll do a 1-minute post, save it to the cloud, and I'll upload it to Facebook. That's a lot of words right now, but the idea is recognize that you can practice putting together a Class A post on Facebook for your business or your club, and you can practice it over and over and over. Nope, don't like that one, don't like that one. Get the one you like, and you're not dealing with a phone where it might be jittery a little bit or it might be bouncing. You've got a good background once you learn how to change your background. So I love some of my Facebook posts. I am going to share one screen with you right now, if I can find it real fast. Let's see. As I mentioned, David Carr and I are both the technical support team for the district, and here is our contact information. I've also given you the Toastmasters district47.org underneath news. We have lots of information about what's happening in online presentations. As far as the contest, because I saw a few calls going through on that or a few questions going through on that, there's a lot of stuff that we're trying to do. Can everybody see my screen, or are they seeing my chat? Let's see. Are you seeing my screen?
We are.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. Now that you see it, I'm going to stop it. But basically, as far as the contest, we're getting together with the trio and the advisors and making sure we know how to do this, because there is a lot of details that take place when it comes to an online presentation. How do you break out into different rooms? How do you actually do a criteria where you're actually collecting information from all the contestants and from the judges? And well, you all know all the different things that we need to do, and we will put that together, and we will have another webinar scheduled hopefully for later this week. And I see there are just a few more questions, comments, and concerns. Can you suggest microphones and or acoustic setups to make the speaker's sound come across better? It sounds like Lois and some others are speaking from a room with some echo in it. If you have a microphone, you will definitely have a better projection as far as microphones. And David, maybe that's something you can post on the website, because that will be a question that speakers care to know about. That brings us up to 9 o'clock. I am officially ending this meeting. We will end the Facebook Live. We will end the recording. I think a few of us are willing to stay online for a few more minutes if you have any other questions that we didn't address. And at that point, we'll let all the microphones open up.